The topic of today: what if you could create workflow applications for CRM which transcend business boundaries and platforms? A very bold proposition. So you currently have a CRM. It's perhaps working in standalone mode. So I'm looking, sorry I can't work through the builds because of the distance between us, but just looking at the panel on the left-hand side, the as-is, what are the options? Do you carry on with the as-is, you stay with the status quo and keep your CRM system as a standalone silo application? Well, unfortunately, that's no longer an option. The world is changing so rapidly. Our customers now require service levels or expect service levels that are not just good but are great, and they have the ability to move very quickly to other service providers if our customer service, be it end-to-end, is not up to scratch. So we need to think about how we'll move ahead. So immediately what comes to mind is we're going to integrate and extend our CRM system, and what immediately comes to mind is massive IT projects that have massive cost implications. They talk about years and not months to deliver them, and they're fraught with risk. And there is a whole litany of cases out there where organizations have spent, in some cases, $100 million extending CRM projects into the infrastructure of the organization, and these things have not delivered the goods. The good news is we give you an alternative, and that new alternative is a BPM-driven CRM system. And in our case, it's a system, a sequence SCE. We'll give you a CRM system that orchestrates smart customer relationship management processes that connect your people and their processes and the technology. So Sequence SCE, as James is going to articulate shortly, gives you out-of-the-box integration. It's packed with connectors which will connect CRM to just about anything, as James will be covering off. So that obviously takes in the Microsoft estate, so things like SharePoint and more elements, more parts of the Dynamics suite, but also ERP systems such as SAP, JD Edwards, line of business systems, databases such as Oracle. So integration is a box that we can tick very quickly, as you're about to see. The alternative that I just talked about previously was multi-year projects. You'll see with PNMsoft Sequence and Sequence SCE that a characteristic is very short time to outcomes. So our organization gets the functionality that needs within months and not years. James, I'm sure, will be talking about low to minimal coding or declarative modeling, design it, deploy it. And as I alluded to earlier, we have a feature called Hot Change, which is, as I said, it's a technology, but it's also our mantra, which enables your organization to effectively deploy and manage change without any compromise to governance and compliance. So that's a thumbnail sketch of what we're going to be doing, what James is going to be talking about in the next 40 minutes. At which point I will hand you over to James and say, thanks, James, for the next 40 minutes. Look forward to it.
Okay.
Oops, there's just one more slide in my haste. What if you could, just to round up on the proposition, what if you could create workflow applications for CRM? We asked a number of customers, and we continually do ask them, what would it mean to you as an organization? And on the screen in front of you is a number of quotes that have come back to us along the way. Well, it would improve our customer service because we can integrate CRM to all of our other systems, and customers don't have to wait around for 30 minutes for an answer on something. We get that information to them straight away. Order to cash becomes much faster because things are joined up as opposed to disjointed. One client came back to us and said this would be a great means of improving our inventory management because we've got we've got more connectivity between our customer demand and our ERP systems. Harnessing legacy systems. I talked about integration. Again, James will be covering this off shortly. Nice one, getting the right data to the right place at the right time. So the connectivity that we talked about will be avoiding rekeying of data and providing that information to customers much quicker. And finally there, bottom two, better cross-functional integration of front office and back office systems, Eureka. And we have one client there who's one organization who said more ROI from our CRM platform, which is always very welcome. So I hope I set the scene. Sorry to miss that one out, James. I will now hand it over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to spend the next 40 minutes or so just hopefully bringing to life at the Sequence CRM edition. And as per the invite, I'm going to cover how you can create some complex CRM workflows. So this is how you can extend workflow capability outside of CRM across the organization. And this will allow you to be able to integrate CRM with other systems. That's both surfacing information from CRM into other systems and vice versa, taking information from other systems and feeding it back into CRM. We'll have a look at how you can extend CRM to non-CRM users, possibly within your enterprise, part of your extranet community, and outwards to customers. And on that last one, how you can expose CRM data on web forms. Sequence Kinetics is 100% web-based. It's about humans actioning processes by filling in web forms. And we allow you to be able to expose these web forms onto your website so that members of the public, your customers and so on, can fill in those forms, and that data can then be passed into the process and subsequently onto CRM. And finally, mobile is a real hot topic at the moment. Smartphones becoming more prolific, tablets and so on. So people not only want to work on the desktop, on the laptop, they want to work on those mobile devices as well. And we'll give you a quick taster of how that can be achieved with our Sequence CRM edition. The key there being how we can expose CRM data to the mobile, capture information from the mobile and pass it back to CRM. So I'm going to now move on to my demonstration environment. So before I start, I'm showing you the demonstration locally. I'm running on a Hyper-V on my laptop. I'll be running Dynamics CRM 2013, obviously on-premise. We'll have SharePoint 2013 we'll have a little look at, and Sequence Kinetics. We, of course, aren't tied to just 2013 on-premise. We work with CRM Online. We work with CRM 2011. We can even work with CRM 4 if that's relevant to yourselves. As Trevor mentioned, we are part of the Microsoft stack, so we utilize as much of the goodies from Microsoft as we can. So SharePoint, Office, reporting services, SQL Server, allowing you to maximize your investment in the Microsoft estate. And as Microsoft bring out new versions, when CRM 2015 starts rolling out, SQL Server 2015, and all the other new innovations from Microsoft will support those products as well. So I'm going to go through those 5 elements that I talked through. I'll be touching on each of those as we go through the demonstration. What I'm going to do is just walk you through a simple little demonstration of a custom onboarding process. May not be relevant to you. Don't worry too much if it's not. What we want to show are the capabilities of Sequence Kinetics and our CRM edition and how it can bring to life Dynamics CRM. So I mentioned about being able to expose web forms to the internet. Here is such an example. We have a fictitious company called Whiteway, and on their website we have exposed an order form. And this is actually coming from Sequence Kinetics. And later on, we will show you this form and how that is created in our design environment. First of all, I'm just very quickly going to walk through an end-user scenario and just give you a feel for what our product can do. So straight away, here we are. Just first of all, identify. I'm a customer. I could be a customer. I could actually be a new customer. So I've come to Whiteway for the first time. If I'm an existing customer, I could select myself from a list of contacts. Now, you obviously wouldn't put this onto your intranet, but here we just wanted to demonstrate. We can surface information. We have a list of contacts in CRM, and we are exposing that list of contacts to this drop-down. It can, of course, be filtered. It can be displayed in a grid. What's key here is it being able to surface information from CRM onto an internet web form. I'm actually going to be a new contact. Let me do myself for a change. I usually pick on other people. And I'll at PNMsoft.com. Now, our web form editor allows you to be able to create some very rich forms. All the capabilities of web forms you'd expect to see. Is this 450, for instance? We are based in London, in UK. And you can capture as much information. Maybe an order form, could be any form, could be an expenses form, could be an inquiry, everything that's relevant to an inquiry coming to your organization. And our web forms have a concept of a grid which allows us to be able to capture multiple rows of information. But again, here we're exposing information, in this case, from the product catalog in CRM. If I were to add another line into the product catalog, it would be exposed to me here. It means you're not having to update your website every time that you're making changes to CRM. And I could add as many line items here as I want. And I click Finish. Now for the, so that's the customer, or in this case, new customer. Everything is now underway. I can go away and just wait for my order to be delivered. If I now move over to CRM, and if I, in fact, refresh my dashboard here, one of the beauties of CRM Edition is we are integrating our management information into CRM as well. So we can see in the sequence dashboards all of the process information. So now 4 has now gone up to 5, and we can see on here all the information about the processes that are happening. So these aren't CRM workflows. These are business processes running across your entire enterprise, but visible and manageable from within CRM. We have dashboarding capabilities within SharePoint as well, and we'll have a little look at those later as well. So you can work in whichever environment is ready. So it is relevant to you. If I switch over to sales, and if I have a look at my accounts, I will now see if I have got lots in. If I go along to P, we can see I've got a PNMsoft. I've actually got 3 PNMsofts in here. We'll obviously use this several times. But if I open up this account, so this account, no one has had to create it. It was created automatically by Sequence CRM Edition. And we can populate as many of the fields in here as are relevant. This account number here is a custom field. We can also update custom fields, and you'll see this later on being populated. But we've created a contact. We've added the number of employees. We could fill out the full account record. Custom fields, standard fields, everything that's relevant. But what we can also do in here, what's key with this, is as part of the account record, we can also have a look to see what other elements relate including sequence workflows. So for every entity within CRM, if it's created by sequence, we make a note of it in here. So I can see what is going on with this particular process. This is some of its more technical information than you may want. What's important is the view that comes with it. We call it our status view. And this gives me a graphical view of the process. Not only what the process is, but how we are progressing through it. And this is exactly the same view as we'll see in the design environment later. We started up here. We started with the customer filling in an order form. We sent them a little thank you note when they've completed it. And we've come through several steps through here. This is where we are updating CRM. So CRM knows exactly where this sequence process is. We can send messages back to the customer or to other users. We can have decision points within the process. We can loop within our processes as well. Sequence has full support for loops. So for instance, we may want to loop around each product that was selected and kick off another process, one for each product, perhaps to get it ordered, perhaps to get the supply chain system set up. But in this case, we're just deciding, did the customer select that they were a new account or an existing account? If they're an existing, we would just follow on the path down here. If it was a new account, what we're doing here is using sequence SCE functions to be able to create a contact and create an account. All happens automatically for me. And in this case, we're doing lots. We're creating an opportunity as well. We're creating a task just to let the user know that an opportunity has been created. So we can create all sorts of entities, all related. And then here we have the sequence CRM listener, where here sequence will now pause on this point and wait for that the opportunity that we created here to be closed before carrying on. So we can clearly see we currently paused on this particular part of the process. So if I move over to my opportunities, I'll see here at the top is an opportunity that I have open to me. And of course, sequence can assign this to relevant teams, to queues, to specific individuals. That business logic can all be captured within the process. Now, of course, you can build that functionality into CRM, but the idea here is you can create extremely rich business logic, business rules functionality, and really extend it. So now here we have a standard CRM opportunity. I could follow the CRM process to complete that. I'm just going to, you don't want to watch me do that. I'm just going to say yes. We've won that particular opportunity. It's a £100 opportunity, and I click OK. So opportunity has now been done. So the process will then be moving on in the background. And if I go back and have a look at my particular workflow, we'll then see, it may take a couple of minutes just while sequence does its bit. Let me just get back to just bear with me. We have a look in accounts. I'll find PNMsoft again. We'll find later we'll be updating this as we go through the process. We haven't quite got to that. Oh no, we have actually got to that point. That's good to see. Here we can see we've actually updated the account number. So what's happened there, if we go and have a look at our workflow, we'll be able to see exactly what has gone here. Oh, in fact, this is closed, so I'm not going to be able to show you because what has happened, we've actually got to the end of the process, so it's no longer visible for me. But let's go and have a look at the process in the design environment, and I can talk you through a number of the elements that we were referring to earlier. The sequence design environment, it's delivered through the browser, makes it very easy to access it. You just need Internet Explorer. And it's a graphical design environment, very straightforward to use. We can see over here the Dynamics CRM activities that allow us to do some very clever integration to CRM. We've also got ERP connectivity, specifically here to SAP. We've got integration with SharePoint. I'll touch on that a little later. If we have a look at our process, here's the listener that completed, and it then followed through to this point. This is our first integration point that we have in this process. This is a web service call. So this is calling out to a web service. We call it our web service consumer. And here I'm delving down into sequence a little. If this is a little technical, don't worry about it. It's very easy to use. Everything is done through wizards. So I set up a connection to a web service. Once I've created it once, I don't need to create it again. I can reuse it many times. For those technical amongst you, sequence, when you put in a web service, it'll pull back the WSDL, get all the methods, all the inputs, all the outputs. Everything is taken care of. So that then when I come to then select which particular method I want to use, what do I want to do? I want to run a company credit check. Sequence knows, well, this particular web service needs a company name and it needs the number of employees. And Sequence has a process data model where each step in the process appears here in this list for me. And here on the web form that we filled in right at the start, we have all the company details, including the name, which is what we've used here, and the number of employees. We've also got the products and the contact details that were entered on that initial form. Now hopefully down here you can see there's emails coming in, emails coming back to me as the customer, just letting me know that my order has been received, and in fact because we've been all the way through, the order has in fact been processed. So it's very easy to set up a call to a web service. But we can also use the information that's come back from that web service. And here is an example of how we can start having some complex business logic. So here the scenario is, I run a credit check against that customer. If the value is above a certain threshold, I want to automatically approve that customer and carry on up to further part of the process. If it's below a certain value, I want to automatically reject them. But then if it's somewhere in the middle, I need a human to make a decision because they need to use that judgment. They need to be able to decide. And our CFO is the person that does that job for us. So before we come on to the CFO, let's have a little look at this decision point here. So this is equivalent to, if any of you are familiar with BPMN, this is equivalent to a BPMN switch or exclusive OR, where we have a number of conditions, and here what we're actually doing is we are taking the result of the web service, the return value, it's a numeric value, and if it's over a certain value we are automatically approving the customer. If it's then above the lower threshold, we are sending it to the CFO for approval, and then if it's below, in this case 600, we are automatically rejecting the customer. If we want to change those thresholds, it's just a case of changing the numbers within those business rules. And so in this case, the CFO has received an approval. The CFO will receive a context-rich email telling them about it, what they need to do, and allow him to be able to make a decision. In this particular scenario, the check was automatically approved, and so we just then proceeded on and carried on. If I have time, I'll go back, I'll rerun it through with an example where the credit check fails and we can see the CFO receiving the task. The CFO will receive an email, as I mentioned, a context-rich email, and we can include within our emails, and these are HTML emails, so they can come out to any email client. We're showing Outlook here, but it can be webmail, smartphones. And within there, we can include information from the process. And here, these account number and warranty numbers, these have been received from other systems. We have called web services and had results come back. I'll show you those in a moment. And we can also include buttons in these emails that allow the user to very quickly be able to select an option. So this is just a notification, but if this was asking the CFO to decide, would you like to approve or reject this customer, rather than clicking on a link, going to a web form, filling in the web form, submitting the web form, they can just click on a button and very quickly action the step. So this is how we can reach out to those non-CRM users. We can present information from CRM to those users in the email. They have all the information they need to hand there, and they can make decisions. Those decisions can then be passed back into CRM. So you may want your entire organization to be using CRM, then that's fine, they can work in CRM. But if you have users who you don't want them to be involved with, it may be such a small part of their job, it's not worth investing in the training, getting them up to speed with how to use CRM. Then we have many ways that we can reach out to those users, involve them in the process. And then moving on over here is to where we are doing some more integration. Back to this point in a moment. Here you can see the two web services where we were calling an ERP web service, it's for AX, Dynamics AX for instance, and also a bespoke warranty system. And both of those were returning values. We then went ahead and we updated our account record for that particular account with the ERP account number, and you saw that appeared in the account record. But of course, we have full integration to SharePoint as well. So let me talk a little bit about our SharePoint integration. It's at two levels. First of all, we have what we call our flow time portal. So you may have users that work in Dynamics CRM. They can interact with our sequence processes fully within that environment. You may have others that don't work in there. So we have our SharePoint-based flow time portal that allows them to be able to see all of their messages that they've received. They can start processes. They can even do delegation capabilities. They can view dashboards. Everything you can do in CRM, they'll be able to do within here. So this is one level of integration. Another level of integration we have is, of course, seeing that I showed you those activities, those integration activities, we can interact with SharePoint as well. Very simple example, but here I have a list called orders, and that activity, what that did is that created a new item within this list. And I just set the order number to be, it's actually the workflow ID, and there's the account and the main contacts that we entered earlier on. We can just as we can update entities later on, we can update list items, we can publish documents, we can copy documents from one place to another. This can all happen on-premise, can of course happen online as well. And we can copy information from CRM into SharePoint, from SharePoint into CRM, from one SharePoint farm to another, could be from SharePoint online to SharePoint on-premise if different areas of the organization use those different hosting options. It basically is about bringing all of your information sources, all of your enterprise systems into one, having a business process across the top of all of them, maintaining the data within all of them, sharing information amongst them, but without having to rely on people making those updates. Okay, so just to recap the slide, we've shown you how we can create complex CRM workflows. The scenario can be whatever you need it to be. It's a fully configurable environment. You can create whatever process you want. And we've shown you how you can integrate CRM with other systems. I've only really scratched on how we can do that. In fact, while I'm on that subject, for the more technically oriented amongst you, let me just explain a little bit about how we integrate with CRM. So as I mentioned before, we have functions, CRM functions. And let me show you one of those functions. These are extendable functions, so you can add to these, you can change them, because effectively they are sequence processes. And the beauty of this is it allows you to be able to put in common functionality, so that in this case, whenever I'm creating an account, you may want lots of different things to happen. You may want to create an account in CRM, but you may also want to create it in your ERP system, in other bespoke line of business systems. You may want to notify certain people. And this is basically create it once, use it many times. But what I wanted to really show here is this activity. This is one of our CRM activities. I'm using the create entity activity. Now, those of you that are familiar with the CRM service, web service API of CRM, you'll recognize these are the high-level methods available in that. And that's exactly what we have used here with our integration. We have wrapped that web service API into a set of very friendly, easy-to-use activities. I can connect to my CRM, again, just as with my web services. Once I've set up a connection, I can reuse it many times. As we said earlier, we support 2013, 2011, and so on. And so this, yeah, I will agree, this is for the more technically oriented amongst you, because what we're doing here is we are creating an entity. And I specify what the entity type is from the very, very long list of entities available in CRM, including custom entities. If you create your own entities, they'll be available here. And then I just have a list of all of the fields available, again, including any custom fields that you create, are all available in here for me to then be able to populate from my business process data model. Very easy to do, very quick to do, and very efficient way of being able to integrate. Okay. So that's how we integrate CRM with other systems. We've shown you how we can extend CRM to non-CRM users. What I'll very quickly do, let me show you from Kinetics. You've seen that this process start from a website. We can also start it from SharePoint as well. And what's key here, and I'll show you the benefits of this a little later in more detail, is we can actually have different views depending on where I'm starting a particular process from. So here I can actually have a different form . I'll very quickly just fill this in. And for this, it's our number of employees that is determining the value. So if I put 350 here, actually I want to be 345. We won't put any products in. So this environment here is the environment that users within your organization can quite often use. The advantage of this is we can see lots of information that's going on. I can monitor the process. I can ask questions. There's social BPM capabilities here. And if I now very quickly action this particular opportunity within CRM, if I can drive CRM, Sorry. Never was the best CRM user. And I should just close this. What I can do within SharePoint, just as I can do within CRM, I can monitor the progress of the particular process. Just wait for this to come up. I'm running everything locally, so every now and then my laptop may just slow down a little on me. So within SharePoint we have many views, including this one, that allows me to be able to, just as we can in CRM, we can monitor the progress. And we can see in this case, when we did our credit check, it obviously decided it was below the automatically approved value, but above automatically rejected. So we've sent a task to our CFO. And that means that in a moment, our CFO, this may take a while to get through the email system. Let me just try and do a send and receive. There we go. Our CFO has now received an email. And this email contains our one-click buttons. And so the CFO can either approve as low risk, approve as high risk, or can reject. This is the same as the CFO going in, clicking on Open Item, which will open up a web form. They can select the various options. It basically populates and submits that form for them. And that can work from a smart device as well, a smartphone. So very easy for our CFO to be able to action that task. So on that subject, the last one that I haven't covered yet is we're interacting workflows with mobile devices. So I've just got a couple of minutes left. Let me show you all about this. So here I am in another sequence environment. On here, I can launch I have another example process called service request. And I can start that process. So I could be a call center agent, someone's phoned me up, wants to submit a service request. I can populate the form for them, fill in all the details. So on here, we can select customer. Now, of course, these customers, this isn't held within sequence. This is coming from our CRM system, including all of the details and including all of the contacts, all of the request types that apply to this, so they could be based on the contract. And we can also show on here other information from, could be an ERP system, could be a finance system, all within the one web form. So you'll notice here what we're doing, we're displaying on the form a little map just showing where the customer is. And we can zoom in if we want. Now we can also use our mobile device. So Sequence Kinetics includes Sequence to Go. This is a HTML5 mobile portal that allows me to be able to do on my smartphone everything that I can do on my laptop within SharePoint. So I'll just sign in. Now, of course, smartphones have a smaller real estate than laptops and tablets. So we don't always want to present as much information on that smaller screen. So within Sequence Kinetics, you can create a different view, a view that's specific for the mobile. But that's not just a case of rendering it slightly different. We allow you to be able to actually have different functionality. So I'm going to launch exactly the same process. Now the reason, of course, ideally I would show this to you on my iPhone, but you can't see that on the webinar, so I can browse to it. Because it's an HTML5 mobile portal, I can browse to it from my laptop as well. But hopefully you can get a feel for the capabilities. Now when I start this process, it's actually coming up with, it's using the geolocation of the device to display the map. So I haven't selected a customer, it's using the geolocation of the device. We can see up there, I've allowed it to be able to use it. Similarly on here for an attachment, if I were to use the attachment field on my laptop, it'll ask me to upload a document from my hard drive. If I do it on here, on my smartphone, it'll ask me if I want to upload a photo or take a photo. It's clever enough to know the device I'm on and behave accordingly. So I can use the camera features as well. And of course, what's useful here is we're surfacing the information from CRM onto the mobile device. So within our process, what we're doing, we're connecting to CRM, pulling the list of customers out, displaying them on the smartphone. We can, of course, capture information from here and pass it back into CRM as well. So there's lots more that I can talk about, but my time is up. Just to recap, creating complex workflows. In fact, let me bring the slide back up again. We've shown you how you can create as complex and as functionally rich CRM workflows that not only involve CRM but can connect other systems as well, whether that's SharePoint, ERP, AX, SAP, homegrown systems, data warehouse, whatever it may be. And we can involve other people that aren't just CRM users within these processes as well, expose CRM data to them, collect information from there, feed it back into CRM. We can even extend that out onto the internet, involve people outside of the enterprise within our processes. And finally, in our very mobile world, we can take that functionality one more. I don't have to create a whole new mobile app to do that. It all effectively comes for free. By using Sequence Kinetics, people can choose whether they use their laptops, their tablets, their mobiles. One day they may use a desktop, another day they may use a tablet, and maybe on the train using the mobiles. The users can choose, you're empowering your users to do what they need to.